or if you're pushing forward, it's gonna slip and you're gonna put the knife into your hand. I've done that, trust me, it hurts. Okay, welcome back. We've done so much oyster content on this channel. It's only fitting we do a oyster shucking tutorial. So we have a beautiful Cops Island oyster. Let's show you how it's done. First, no matter how clean they are, you want to clean them again. Move them around, get any dirt that's left. I mean, these are super clean to begin with. The most important part is here in the hinge. Oftentimes there'll be a little mud right there in the hinge. You don't want that to get into the oyster when you open it. First and foremost, you want a knife that works for you. There's a lot of different styles. This happens to be a Dexter Russell New Haven style knife. It has the curved point. There's also a straight blade, which is a Long Island knife, I believe. And there's lots of different knife manufacturers. You'll find something that you like. This works for me. I've had this knife for years. Make sure you get a good knife. You don't want to break the point or let it start rusting. You know, spend 20 bucks instead of 5. You'll be happy you did. You can wear one of those Kevlar gloves, or you can use a heavy rubber glove to help protect your hand if you like. If you're using a towel, just hold a towel over it like this. The first thing to understand is that opening an oyster is not a feat of strength. You don't want to use a lot of strength and pressure. That's how you hurt yourself. So when you look at an oyster, you've got this side of the oyster, which is where the new growth is, and then you have the hinge out here. We're going to open it from the hinge. So what you'll want to do is just work the knife slowly into the hinge until it's secure, and then just apply a little bit of pressure and hold it, and the oyster will pop. If you go in with a lot of pressure and a lot of force, either the shell's gonna break, or if you're pushing forward, it's gonna slip and you're gonna put the knife into your hand. I've done that, trust me, it hurts. Once you get to this point, gently open the shell just enough to flip the blade over, if you're using a curved blade, and scrape along the top of the shell. You wanna use the curved side up. So the adductor muscle was cut clean without damaging the body of the oyster. And when we cut the other side, the same thing. Use the curve against the shell to cut the adductor nice and clean. So the result that we want here is a whole meat. It's not shredded. It doesn't look like someone put an immersion blender in the shell and chopped up your oyster. This is exactly how you want an oyster to look. If you happen to put a little cut in it like that, just flip it over, and you'll have that appearance of a beautiful whole oyster. You can still see the gills intact and the oyster is whole. A couple of challenges you might come into. One is an inverted hinge. So that hinge happens to be pointed down. Typically when oyster is growing, it grows like this on the bottom with a rounded shell up and the flat shell down. But if it's not on a perfectly flat bottom, it's gonna have an inverted hinge like that. So you can't get the blade in there well. So all you have to do with that is just find something to prop it up on, and now you can expose that hinge. And again, no forward pressure, light pressure. You can either pry or you can twist. Both methods work. I like to pry just gently and it'll pop. Just hold it for 2 or 3 seconds. Again, flip the blade, scrape, and the meat is whole. There we go, again. Perfect whole meat, no cuts, no scrapes, no tears. One other thing that happens sometimes, you might see some boring sponge damage. When you're opening an oyster with boring sponge, a lot of times the shell breaks. So let's see if we can get this one open without the shell breaking. Okay. If this was broken off, you would just insert the knife this way, in through the opening, and scrape the bottom shell first, and you'll still get that off. It may not be as nice and whole, but you can still flip it and produce a really nice oyster. So from start to finish, a good oyster should take a good skilled opener about 5 to 6 seconds. And there's no excuses for cuts and holes and all that other nonsense. Again, hold, and that'll give before you do. We may have heard that when we're eating an oyster that you just slurp it down whole. Wrong. You want to chew it gently, maybe 8 or 10 chews, and you're going to get many layers of flavor that way. The first thing you'll pick up is the body of water that it came from, the salinity and the other elements of the water that make the oyster what it is. Then you'll taste the body of the oyster, which is almost the same on every oyster. And then the finish will be different depending on the properties of the adductor muscle. The adductor muscle is the hardest part of the oyster, so it's going to be the last thing you chew, and it's also going to create the finish. So with a Kopp's Island oyster, it's medium brine, has a very rich and buttery body, and a scallop finish. The adductor muscle tastes almost like a raw scallop does. So it's really good to really enjoy the oyster, take a minute or two, and really pick up the properties and really understand what you're eating. Anyway, that's my technique for oysters. I hope you enjoyed it. Give it a try. Don't hurt yourself.